All right, time for a little fantasy football week 3. Dave, what's happening, my man?
Not much. Some great games this past weekend. Some games that came down to the wire. All those games are always fun to watch. Field goal winners too. A couple of late field goals to win it. There's a couple of teams that probably shouldn't have won that won, but yeah, that's what makes football fun to watch.
Not really. You're on the other side of it, especially you're a Bronco fan. It's like teams won they shouldn't have won. That's great. What are we doing here? Yeah, no, there's definitely some shenanigans here, but the good news is that this is fantasy football, so it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with how the players actually performed. So maybe there's some integrity left in that. But here we are, and it's a crazy week, Dave. And there's some big injuries, very big injuries. If you start with the quarterback that was an MVP in Joe Burrow, turf toe. I never thought a toe would take a guy out for 3 months, but this must be
Yeah,
serious. It must be
this is
really
crazy. They said it's a
really
grade
torn
3
up.
sprain, but it's going to require surgery, which is why it's going to be 3 months. But yeah, definitely a huge blow to the Bengals. But we'll talk
How
about
does a sprain even require surgery? Doesn't it have to be a tear? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either with the ligaments. They said something with the ligaments, but yeah, like I agree with you. I would think it'd have to be a tear,
Oh,
but
Herbert to Johnson. Oh my
woo,
God.
it's wide open.
I have Herbert in your league, and I thought it was dead, but man, it's coming
There
back.
you go. Got some life.
All right, because I'm too. Well, I mean, playing another Troy who has Johnson, but I think I have a big enough margin for him. But that was a bomb, dude. These Chargers look for real. This Harbaugh knows how to coach.
He was a good coach when he was at the 49ers even too. He brought him to the Super Bowl. So yeah, Harbaugh's definitely a good coach.
Oh my
He
God,
knows what he's doing.
he knows what he's doing out there, changing this team over and over, and it is just amazing to watch. I'm really wondering about this AFC West now. I feel like it's going to be the Chargers most likely, maybe Denver, but they're going to play next week, which is going to be great. But key injuries, Joe Burrow, man, like I said, that's really a bummer, and he's probably, I guess he can come back probably for the last 2 games or so, but
They said
practically
mid-December. So he could be back for
3
tail end of
games,
that schedule. So like the last 3-4 games
which
maybe.
is
But,
playoff time, and that's playoff time. So I guess if someone drops him, stash him. I mean, that way you can play matchup football in the playoffs, and you can just keep them on an IR, especially if you have deep IR spots,
exactly.
like our league does. Austin Eckler, another massive injury, starting running back for a pretty good Washington Commanders team, torn his Achilles, and he's out. Quarterback Jaden Daniels may miss this week and longer due to a sprained knee, which is weird news because there's 2 guys that came up, and it was him and quarterback JJ McCarthy, who all of a sudden has a high ankle sprain that I really didn't notice.
He was limping a little bit at the end of the game, but he limped for a little bit, but then he played like it was fine. So yeah, that is really weird too. I agree. So
It's almost like he played so bad, maybe the coach wants him to sit. I don't know. It just feels very strange with a 2 to 4 week injury now.
well, and that could be the reason he struggled too at the end of that game though, too. So you never know.
Yeah, that's true. Um, Out 2 to 4 weeks. Aaron Jones for the Vikings out at least next week with a hammy. So that's interesting. Jordan Mason will be big in the waivers. Running back Aaron Jones will miss next week with a hammy. I already mentioned that. Justin Fields, I'm sorry. He might have a concussion. So that's the only one I have, Dave. Any others to add?
Yeah, there's a couple other ones too. On Thursday night, there was another huge injury. Jaden Reed for the Packers is going to be 6 to 8 weeks with a broken collarbone. So that's actually a huge injury as well. That definitely will hurt. And then the Eckler injury, I had that. And then the McCarthy, Aaron Jones. Yeah, those are most of the big ones actually. So maybe the quarterbacks are the main ones right now that you got to look out for.
All right. Well, why don't you start with the waivers then?
All right, great. I'll get into that. So some of the major ones, of course, for the injuries, you're going to be looking at the backup quarterbacks, actually. So Carson Wentz is going to be a huge pickup for the Vikings to fill in for J.J. McCarthy. You're going to have Jake Browning for the Bengals, who actually came in and did a really great job actually filling in there. Marcus Mariota for the Commanders. He actually has played well in the past when he's filled in, so that could be a nice streaming option for you this week. We'll get into some matchups though too for that in a little bit here, and then a few other people that you want to take a look at. It's going to be Bicel Tootin for the Jaguars. He had a good week as the backup. Wan'Dale Robinson, Russell Wilson was slinging it this past weekend, dropping bombs all over the place on the Dallas Cowboys. Wan'Dale Robinson had a great game. Troy Franklin had a great game for the Broncos as well. Sun kind of was a bust this week, but I expect Sun to bounce back. But Troy Franklin, if he's on the waiver wires, which he should be, definitely look at him. Juwan Johnson, who we talked about last week, I'm not going to talk about him too much. Jake Ferguson. A lot of people forgot about him. 9 receptions this past week. Dak was looking for him very often, so definitely add him if he's out there. And then Elik, I'm going to butcher this name here, Anamar for the Titans. He actually had a good week this past week. Wicks, he actually had 4 receptions this past week. And with the Reed injury, I think he's the guy who gets more looks, him and Dobbs. I talked about Dobbs a little bit last week. He was my D-Nasty sleeper. He got a touchdown. And Mac Jones, who had 3 touchdowns. So Mac Jones, if people still didn't add him, you definitely want to add him. 3 touchdowns this past week. And then Tyler Algier, he had a touchdown, and he had over 10 carries this past week on Sunday Night Football, and he looked pretty good too. Even with Bijan going off, he got quite a few carries as well. So that's another guy you want to take a look at.
Yep. No, that's great. I have a lot of those. I like Zach Ertz too. I mean, he's had 2 great weeks now, touchdowns in both of them. 8 targets, only owned in 57% of Yahoo leagues, Dave. So I like him. And Troy Franklin actually had 9 targets with the Broncos. You know, it's some of those weird, like high-scoring games that you see these guys come out of nowhere, kind of like Wan'Dale Robinson, right? 8 receptions, right, exactly. 100 some yards and a touchdown. I think that's somewhat going to happen continuously if their defense is going to suck, though. So he's worth a stash. Like you said, Wentz, Mariota, Jake Browning. Definitely Jake Browning if you had Burrow. He's as good as Burrow, no, but at least he has guys like Jamar Chase. You know, that's huge. And guys like Jamar Chase is going to make him better. And same with T. Higgins and some of those good receivers out there on Cincinnati. So, I mean, it's not super exciting that Jake Browning is going to suck some games for sure, especially against some good Ds, but it's better than nothing. And then you look at the running backs. I was going to ask you, what do you think? Obviously, we know who the starter is for the Redskins. But what about Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez? Who do you think is the best number 3?
I think Chris Rodriguez, even though he was inactive for the first week, the first 2 weeks, I think he actually is the better running back of those two. But McNichols actually is a good receiving back. I'd say Rodriguez is the better runner, but I'd say McNichols is the better receiving or the backfield.
So that's almost more Eckler-ish, you know. It's like I'm struggling. I think it's maybe grab both if you can, if you're really struggling too. But I'd take a shot with McNichols first, I think. But yeah, deeper.
Yeah, and like I said, Rodriguez was inactive the first 2 weeks, so definitely probably McNichols is who is probably higher on the list right now, actually, with the Commanders coach-wise and playing-wise. So, but I don't count out Rodriguez altogether, though, because he actually played pretty well last year when he got playing time.
What about Hunter Renfrow? Another situation where, you know, the defense lightens up, the refs throw flags, and here's Carolina down over 17 points back into the game, you know. I think they got an onside kick, though. My son and I left with like a couple minutes left because it was just, you know, we knew the Cardinals were probably going to win, so we beat traffic.
Bryce Young, a lot of people forgot about him too. He had a great end of the year last year, and then he didn't have a good week the first week, but this last week he had 3 touchdowns actually. So fantasy wise, even though the Panthers aren't that good and they didn't win, fantasy wise, Bryce Young had a really great week actually. So don't count him out if he's out there too to fill in for some of these quarterbacks that are injured. Definitely take a look at Bryce Young.
All right. Well, I agree with that too. Let's move to sleepers and non-starting trending up for week 3. I'll start with the, you know, I was going to say Raiders defense. They don't look so great against the Chargers here, but they are playing against Marcus Mariota. It's not the worst look in the world, so I'll throw them out there. Zach Charbonnet against the Saints isn't a bad idea either. You know, it's funny, Dave. I want to ask you real quick. Who do you think is the worst team in the league? Coming into the season, I was going to say the Saints, but I think I'm switching to the Titans.
It's pretty close, actually. I have to actually agree with the Titans, actually. I didn't know how Cam Ward was going to play. He looked good in the preseason, but he hasn't looked that good to start the season out. And then he has the receivers, but he hasn't really been throwing really that much. He's going to the rookie now, and Ian Meyer. So, yeah, I definitely think the Titans are definitely the worst team in the league right now, but the Saints are pretty close as well.
Yeah. Yeah. The Saints played tough at home. Now they got some really tough road games against, oh my God, it's Seattle, then Buffalo. It's going to be brutal for them.
But I hate to say too about your team, the Bears actually have not looked that good either. So
Well, we played the
they're part of that
Lions, the
conversation.
Vikings. At least we played the Lions. I mean, come on, and the Lions were in a home run spot after that Packer discussed. So it is what it is. Like I said, I still believe the Bears are a fade team in the beginning and team you want to be on late. I'm not changing from that. Marion Hampton now is a starter, Dave. It's like it's hard to say non-starter trending up, so I'm just going to announce him now for good. He's a starter. He plays Denver, and Denver's D looks bad. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. Hampton's actually struggling tonight, right, so far, and he's only got I think the last time I checked, he only had one carry for -3 yards. So I'd keep an eye on that. Denver's got a pretty tough D too.
Well, they got Najee Smith, but here's the thing: now that they're
Najee Harris.
Yeah, Najee Harris. Now that they're up by 9 points, you're going to see more running. So I think it's going to tighten up.
I would agree,
or loosen up, I should say. Michael Pittman, wide receiver against the Titans, looks like a good ad. I think Michael Pittman could be great. And is he a starter? Yeah, maybe. I suppose on the Colts, but in case you're not starting him, he's like your fourth guy. He's a good start this week. DJ Moore for the Bears. They're playing the Cowboys, and you saw how bad that Cowboys defense was against the Giants. And
oh my God, the Cowboys defense is just horrendous. The Cowboys shouldn't even won this past week. I think the Giants should have won that game. Another team that got beat that shouldn't have lost.
Yeah, and Rome Odunze is probably a borderline starter too. So I actually like him more than DJ Moore. But I'm just going to say, if you're not starting Rome Odunze, he's getting a lot of looks from Caleb. And even Caleb Williams could be a start against the Cowboys. He got 21 points last week, so it's not like he was a complete bum. Quarterback Carson Wentz against the Bengals, if you need a streamer, I like that. Marquise Brown against the Giants. I think he's going to have a big game because Rice is still out and most likely Worthy is still out. Keep Marquise Brown, especially in your DFS. Wide receiver Darnell Mooney against the Panthers, Dave. That's a sneaky one that could be big. Darnell Mooney getting open in the slot there. Kyle Pitts as well. Kyle Pitts is doing better finally. It took him years, but now he's doing better with the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons look really good with Michael Penix there. I think Michael Penix is also a must start against the Panthers, and Dalton Schultz against the Jaguars is a bounce back. I think that, they had a tough game today, lost it at the end to Tampa, but I expect Dalton Schultz to score a little bit more. Who are your stuff?
So I like the Bills receivers actually this week against the Dolphins. Dolphins defense is not that good. I like Keon Coleman and I like Khalil Shakir actually. Those guys haven't had a big week yet. Keon Coleman had one big good week so far, but I like both those guys against the Dolphins this week. I think that they put up some points. Like you said, I like the Falcons D actually this week. The defense actually looked really good against Minnesota. I know JJ was struggling, but the Atlanta defense has definitely improved this year. I like them that they're a nice streaming defense this week. Like you said, I think Penix and Darnell Mooney, I like both of them, and Pitts. All of those guys against the Panthers. Panthers don't have a good defense. Packers this week play the Browns. I didn't hear you mention any Packers, Kiev. I do like the Packers.
No. I put I see. Here's the problem: the Browns have a good defense, especially rushing. But I think that there's a couple receivers that I think would do good. That's it.
Yeah, so I'm saying Wicks and Dobbs, kind of like I was talking about before. I think those guys have to step up now with Reed out. I like those guys this week. I like Dobbs last week as well, but I like him even more now that with Reed out. I think him and Wicks pick up some of that slack there. Definitely like that. I think CJ Stroud has a good day against the Jaguars. Jaguars have been putting up a lot of points, but their teams against them have been putting up a lot of points as well. I like Stroud, and I like Schultz. I like the Schultz pick as well. I like both of them. I think Stroud has a good week next week against them. I do like the matchup for the Vikings next week. I think Carson Wentz could actually have a good day. Though the Bengals defense is just horrible. They're kind of like the Cowboys. They're letting teams score 20, 30 points against them every week. So It's going to be a shootout, I think. I think Wentz has a good day. Jillian Naylor actually has been looking pretty good, filling in for Addison. So he's a sleeper. Then Mac Mason too. Now he's going to get full set of carries actually, and get all the carries now against the Bengals. I really like him. So I like a lot of the Vikings this week against that poor defense.
I forgot to mention that Mason is. I mean, a lot of people have Mason handcuffed, Dave. But the truth is that who's the third guy? Is it still Ty Chandler? Or
it is
is
Ty
he still
Chandler
hurt?
still, yeah.
Is he hurt or no? Because he was hurt for a while. Yeah, he's on IR. Xavier Scott is the third guy there now, according to ESPN. Woof.
So yeah.
I think Jordan Mason, if he's on waivers, you have to pick
huge waiver pickup. Yeah, that's definitely the running back you want this week is Tuden and Mason, because like Tuden is the backup now for ETN, but ETN had another great week though too. But Tuden's been getting a lot more carries and he had a touchdown too. So yeah, Mason's definitely the running back to pick up this week for sure. We should have definitely mentioned that, but yeah. Definitely the pickup of the week right there. I like the Colts this week again. Colts 2-0 Colts. Indiana Jones, Danny Dimes. Is playing really well. I look for that to continue. I like Pittman, like you said as well. Josh Downs actually had a pretty good game too. So I like both those receivers against the Titans this week. Everyone's already starting Taylor, but definitely those sleepers trending up are definitely the two receivers in Pittman and Downs. Definitely like them. And Daniel Jones, I think he could play well too against that Titans D. They're just not looking good that right now. I like the Seahawks this week too. I think Darnold can have a good day this week. And then Cooper Kupp actually had a nice week this past week. He's starting to come around too. So I like them against that Saints D. I hate to say it, Kiev, but I like the Cowboys this week against the Bears. Kevontae Turpin's actually under the radar kind of receiver. He's been getting a couple touchdowns here. He's getting a touchdown here each week. And he's getting some looks too, some targets out of the backfield and some carries too. So he could be a guy who's trending up. And Pickens, I know he's probably a little under 50% over in most leagues, but Pickens is actually got to watch against the Bears too. I think he could have a big game against them. And then I like the Chiefs against the Giants. They're coming off a 0-2 start playing the Giants. They're going to be ready to roll here against the Giants. So definitely, I think Isaiah Pachinko finally gets on track this week, and Kareem Hunt could have a good day too against the Giants. Even though they have a good rushing D, I don't think even though they have a good pass rush, their rushing D is not that good. So I think the Chiefs actually could run on them, have a big week. I like Hollywood Brown too on that, like you said, against them as well.
Yep. Agree with all that. Let's move to Bus, Dave. Who is going to destroy your week?
Well, that's a really tough matchup with the Lions and Ravens. So I don't really like either one of those teams. Both teams have a pretty good D, especially the Ravens. I don't like the Lions matchup against the Ravens. I know I kind of downgraded Goff last week against the Bears, which was not the right thing to do. But I definitely don't like the Lions this week against the Ravens. I think the Ravens was as complete team as it can be out there, other than the Packers probably. Wink, wink.
I didn't downgrade Goff. Who downgraded Goff? I didn't.
I did. So, but yeah, okay.
I mean, the Bears were missing Bears are missing Kyler Gordon and a couple others.
Julian Johnson was there too. Yeah,
Johnson got injured right after the first quarter, so that didn't help either.
So yeah, injuries it can always change that course. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I don't think the Giants score as many points this week against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs D plays better and they step up. So I don't like Russell Wilson this week against them. He had a great week last week, but I don't think that continues this week against that tough D. I don't like the Chargers this week against the Broncos. I think the Broncos have a really good D, even though they're playing at Los Angeles. I don't still like the Chargers. I don't like Justin Herbert against them. I think Quinn Johnson, I'd downgrade him a little bit too. I don't like Marion Hampton against the Denver Broncos D. I think their D is good. So I'm downgrading them. And then the other ones I'm downgrading too are going to be the Cleveland Browns, the Packers defense with the Micah effect. Joe Flacco would definitely not starting him, even if you're not starting him this week against the Packers. And then I don't like the running backs either. Even another pickup too, Kushan Jenkins, we forgot to mention him. He actually got quite a few carries. Actually, he had like a lead back role. So if he's still out there on waivers, definitely look at him. But definitely don't start him this week, but definitely pick him up. And then the Patriots this week, Drake May, I think he could struggle against the Steelers as well.
All right, no, good stuff. I have a lot of those. Brandon Jacobs against Cleveland's D, Dave. Cleveland's got a good run D. They always do. I think that it would be love throwing the ball against them. You just got to really get away from Myles Garrett, and then you can just destroy this team. And you saw Lamar do that. Wide receiver AJ Brown against the Rams is kind of suspect. The only thing worried about Cleveland, I guess, is that they did pretty good against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's been looking pretty bad
Cincinnati's
until
defense is not good.
yeah,
No.
and they got wrapped into that game. You know that. Kyler Murray
Yeah.
against the 49ers is dangerous too. I think that you could have a good game against for Murray, or you can have just a stinker with Murray. So I'm more leaning towards the stinker this week. Running back Travis Etienne against the Texans isn't too fun when the Texans are 0-2. Can't try to get a third loss. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence, he also against the Texans, is a little suspect. I think the Jags should win this game, but I don't know, man. It's a little worrisome. And Brian Robinson too. Anyone in Cleveland against Green Bay? I'm not playing anybody on Cleveland. I know you mentioned Judkins. Now this ain't the week to do it. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I said a good pickup, but I didn't say to play him this week. So I said, yeah, I said you can pick him up. He's a good pickup, but don't play him this week.
And I'm not even sure if I would start Russell Wilson. You know, I mean, what a crazy game that was. And then now he's playing a pissed off Chiefs that's 0-2.
No.
Yeah, you know, that's not a good matchup either.
Agreed.
Yeah, he remembers them from when he played for Denver too. Cam Scadaboo against the Chiefs also is a little bit dangerous. You know, otherwise, I just feel like there's a lot of bad defenses out there. Even the Ravens can give up some points. You know, it's just, I don't have as many busts as I used to. I think as the year moves on, we'll have more. But it's time for the nasty sleeper, Dave. Who's going to win it for your fantasy football league this week?
I'm going with who's hot right now. Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones to the rescue against the Titans. I love it, man. I've been talking up the Colts actually the last couple of weeks, and I think they do it again. I think they beat the Titans pretty handily, and I think Daniel Jones has a great day.
You took mine. This is Daniel Jones too. You did. But well, you know what? So what? We both agree. Let's do it. I'll keep it there, and because this Titans D is really bad, and you saw Stafford just do what he wants against them. I think this Colts team is kind of playing with some momentum. They shouldn't have won last game, but even though they shouldn't have won, they still outgained the Broncos, putting up like 470 yards. And look at Jonathan Taylor right now being
John Taylor looked great.
Oh, he looked amazing, man. And if they keep him involved and are blocking well for them, I mean, they could just absolutely eat up this Titans team. And I agree. I think the Titans are the worst team in the league, and I think Daniel Jones is being salvaged pretty well, making the Giants look pretty bad in that situation. So you and I agree, my friend. Good stuff. Anything we missed?
No, I don't think so. Make sure you cover those injuries. Make sure you get those pickups in for all those injured quarterbacks. Go Pack, go, and have a great week.
Yeah, my man. Great stuff. Make sure you guys check out this article that's going to be coming out tomorrow with it all listed out, and some of the ones that Dave gave out as well. I always write down. We'll be back with some college football Wednesday live on YouTube at 1 p.m. And then obviously that comes out on Thursday in podcast form. Same with NFL Thursday coming out Friday. Enjoy the rest of your week and go get some winners.